Hi Year 4 and welcome to Tuesday's maths lesson. Today we're going to be looking at some shape vocabulary. That just means words that are to do with shapes. And we've got 4 particular words that we need to know the meanings of. So let's have a look. The first one here is vertical. Then this other one is the opposite of vertical. Can you guess what that might be? It's horizontal. And then the other 2 words are parallel and a really long one, perpendicular. So those are the 4 words that we're going to look at particularly today. Let's start with vertical. If you're standing up straight, that means you are vertical. And this cake here has vertical stripes. So vertical just means something that's this way up, something that goes straight up and straight down. A lamppost is vertical, for example, or the walls of a house, because if they weren't vertical, the house would go like that. So that's vertical. If we have a look at a couple of shapes here, I've got some 2D shapes for you, so they're flat shapes. Can you find any vertical lines? Remember, they need to go straight up and straight down. Well, if we take this red shape here, this is the quarter of a circle, and this line is curved, so that can't be vertical, because vertical lines need to be straight up, straight down. Like this one here. Here we go, here's a vertical line. And this one isn't vertical. This is the opposite of vertical. We'll have a look at that in a minute. This shape here, this is called a parallelogram, and this is a shape with no vertical sides. So it has 2 sides that go straight across, but then these sides here, although they go up at an angle, so they're diagonal lines. If they were vertical lines, they would go straight up like that and they'd make a rectangle. Okay, so the opposite of vertical is horizontal. Which way is horizontal? Can you show me using your arms? So this was vertical. So what's horizontal? Yeah, horizontal is straight out or straight across. So examples of horizontal, we have Messi, the same footballer as before, except he's not vertical anymore, he's horizontal. Maybe they're having a nap or something, who knows? Apparently football's quite tiring. And then there's this cake here, and this cake has horizontal layers, horizontal stripes, whereas the one before had stripes that went up and down. This one, horizontal, goes across. And the reason that horizontal is called horizontal is because of the horizon. Now, when you go to the beach and you look out to sea and you can see where the sea meets the sky, that's the horizon. It's where the land or the sea meets the sky in the distance. So here across the picture, this is where the sea meets the sky. So this is the horizon. And that's why horizontal is called horizontal, because it's the horizon, so it goes across. Let's have a look at a few shapes and let's see if we can find horizontal lines in these shapes. Pause the video and see how many horizontal lines these 2 shapes have. So the green shape is a trapezium, and this one has 2 horizontal lines. We have this one going straight across here and this one going straight across here. And these 2 other sides are both diagonal. What about this one? This is a strange shape. In fact, it's a, well, what do we call it? Let's see how many sides it's got. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 sides, so it's a decagon. And how many horizontal lines has it got? Well, we've got this one, this long one across the bottom. That's definitely horizontal. This one's vertical because it goes straight up. Diagonal, vertical, diagonal, vertical, diagonal, vertical. Ah, there's another horizontal line just here, this little one here. So it has two horizontal lines as well. Now let's look at the word parallel, and you might have come across this before. It's a bit of a tricky word to spell, this one, because of all the L's in it. Parallel means two lines that never ever meet. So you can't just have one line that's a parallel line, because it needs another line to be parallel with. For example, these ones here are double yellow lines that you see on the road to stop people parking there. And they're parallel because they never ever cross over. No matter how long the road is that the double yellow lines go down, they never ever meet. They always go side by side, and they're always the same distance apart. So the distance here is the same as the distance here, and the same as the distance half a mile down the road. It's the same with a running track. If you think about the tracks you see at races like the Olympics, if you've got 8 lanes for people to run in, if your lane gradually got smaller and smaller because your lines weren't parallel, you'd be in trouble, wouldn't you? So they must make sure they keep the lines parallel, so these lines will never ever cross over and never meet. And on a football goal as well, you've got parallel lines here. Can you see where they are? Well, in fact, they're pretty much all over the place. The most obvious ones are the posts. So the 2 posts here and here are parallel, because if your goal went like that, then you might feel a little bit cheated. And also, if you look closer on the netting, the lines on the net are parallel. You've got lines going vertically, and then you've got lines going horizontally as well. So all the horizontal lines are parallel to each other, and all the vertical lines are parallel to each other. Let's have a look at these 2 lines here. Are they parallel? Well, they're straight lines. They don't cross over. So are they parallel? Pause the video to have a think. I've got my ruler here, so let's check if these lines are actually parallel. Remember, if they are, they should be the same distance apart all the time. So 0 here, that's approximately 3.5 centimeters that side. Okay, let's have a look further down. Ah, well, that's not right. Just over 2 centimeters. So at some point, these lines are going to cross. And I can prove it by moving them along like this. Can you see how much closer they are now? So I'm just extending them and making them longer. So eventually they will join up. And that's not parallel at all. Parallel lines, there we go, never meet like that. A good way of making sure you're drawing parallel lines is to use a ruler, not just to make sure that your line is straight, but if you draw your line along one side of your ruler with a pencil or a pen, and then you draw your line along the other side of your ruler without moving it, then you're going to end up with parallel lines because your ruler has those parallel lines like that. Let's have a look at these shapes. So these shapes have parallel lines, but how many pairs of parallel lines do they have? Pause the video to look closely. So this shape here is a rectangle. It looks a lot like a square, but it's not quite the same length on each side. And we know that this line is horizontal and this line is horizontal. So those are never going to meet. So that's a pair of parallel lines. And the same with these 2 vertical sides here. They'll never meet either. This shape here, remember, is a trapezium. And this has 2 parallel lines, one here and one here. These lines will never meet. Whereas these diagonal lines here, if they kept going, they would meet eventually. And that would make more of a triangle. So how can we show parallel lines when we find them on a shape? There's a special little symbol that we use. So we use an arrow, and we do the arrow pointing in the same direction on both lines to show that those lines are parallel. But hang on, this shape here, this one had two pairs of parallel lines. These ones are parallel as well. But we can't put the same arrow on these lines because they're not parallel with the first pair. So mathematics did something really, really simple. On those ones, you just put two arrows instead. So this way, it's really easy to see that this line and this line are parallel, and this line and this line are parallel. Let's have a look at a football pitch. So a football pitch is a perfect example when we're looking at parallel and perpendicular lines because it's full of them. Pause the video and see if you can find pairs of lines that are parallel. You could even draw a football pitch on your paper and draw in the little arrow shapes. Did you find some? They're everywhere. So we've got lots, as we're looking at this picture, seemingly horizontal lines. So we've got lots that are all going this way. So all of these are parallel to each other, so they all get one little arrowhead. And there are lines going the other way as well. There are all these lines here. There's a little one there, one there. These are all parallel to each other as well, but they're not parallel to the first ones. So we put two sets of arrows on each one. And that shows us that we've got two groups of parallel lines. Here we are. The final word for today is perpendicular. So this is a really long word, but actually it means something that you already know. See if you can guess by looking at the pictures. All of these pictures have perpendicular lines. What do you think that might mean? Perpendicular means a right angle, two lines that meet at an exact right angle. So on this pylon here, we've got a vertical post, and then we've got this horizontal bar going across. So they make a right angle. This patio is full of right angles. We've got lots of square tiles here and tiny squared tiles, and even these ones here meet at right angles as well. And our flag, of course, has right angles. If we look at the big cross in the middle, we've got right angles here. So they have perpendicular lines. So the angle is the right angle, the corner, and the lines are perpendicular. Let's have a look at our football pitch again. Pause the video and see how many perpendicular lines you can find. I bet you found quite a lot. And to mark perpendicular lines, because they make a right angle, we just need to use that little square. So here I've marked some of the right angles on the pitch, not all of them though, or I'd be here all day. So we have right angles here, here, in all the corners of the pitch. We've got little right angles here. We've got right angles all over the place. And the lines that meet at that right angle are perpendicular lines. So this line here and this line here are perpendicular. Why not pause the video now and have a go at drawing sets of parallel and perpendicular lines? Your task today is on My Maths, and it has two separate sections to it. Let's have a quick look. The first section is about different sized angles, and this is something, of course, that we learnt last week. And it needs you to match up these angles with whether they are less than a right angle, which is an acute angle, or greater than a right angle, bigger than a right angle, which is obtuse. And they've given you a little angle measurer that you can use to help you check. So you drag the right one to the right place, and then you press mark it at the bottom. Remember to press mark it, that's really important. Otherwise, we can't see that you've done your work. The second section is looking at the 4 words that we've learnt today: horizontal, vertical, perpendicular, and parallel. And you need to match the words with the lines, putting them in the right places, and then press mark it. And that's it. Then you're done for the day. Good luck today, and I'll see you again tomorrow. Bye.